Total liability under the RACP. As discussed earlier, growers that conducted land clearance without prior HCV assessment after November 2005 have to do remediation and compensation for both environmental and social HCVs. We're now going to look at the total liability under RACP. In general, more recent non-compliant clearance carries more severe liability, and RSPO members bear heavier liability than non-members. Let's take a closer look at each classification. Non-compliant land clearance between November 2005 and November 2007 carries the least liability because during this time, the RSPO P&C was still in trial, and only a few qualified HCV assessors were available. Therefore, both members and non-members of the RSPO are only required to do social remediation and environmental remediation for non-compliant land clearance conducted in this period. The next time period is between December 2007 and the 31st of December 2009, when the RSPO P&C had been fully implemented and all members were expected to understand the requirements. Social remediation and environmental remediation are required for both members and non-members of RSPO for non-compliant land clearance in this period. In terms of conservation liability, non-members must compensate for half the sum of all corporate clearance without prior HCV assessment multiplied by their vegetation coefficients in November 2005. RSPO members are required to compensate for the total number of all non-compliant corporate clearance multiplied by the vegetation coefficients of the cleared areas in November 2005. Let's pause here for a second and see how the conservation liability is calculated. Let's say, for example, that a grower has disclosed a list of areas cleared without prior HCV assessment between December 2007 and the 31st of December 2009 and categorized them as follows. Area A in November 2005 was a 10-hectare primary forest with a coefficient of 1. Area B was a 20-hectare peat forest that is recovering from heavy logging, and therefore the coefficient is 0.7. Area C was a 30-hectare multi-use agroforestry area with a coefficient of 0.4. Area D was a 25-hectare area that had always been an oil palm plantation, even prior to November 2005, so the coefficient is 0. In this case, if the grower was not a member of the RSPO, the conservation liability amounts to 18 hectares. However, if the grower is an RSPO member, the conservation liability is 36 hectares. If that's clear, let's go back to the classification. The 1st of January 2010 marked the date when the RSPO's new planting procedure came into force. So the period between the 1st of January 2010 and the 9th of May 2014 carries a higher liability than previous periods. As in all other periods, non-members and RSPO members are both required to make social and environmental remediation. For the conservation liability, non-members are required to compensate the total number of all non-compliant corporate clearance multiplied by their vegetation coefficients in November 2005, while members are required to compensate for twice this sum. The period after May 9, 2014, when RSPO's Board of Governors accepted the recommendation to begin staged implementation of the RACP, carries the heaviest liabilities. In addition to social remediation and environmental remediation, non-members are required to compensate twice the sum of all non-compliant corporate clearance multiplied by their vegetation coefficients in November 2005. For RSPO members, however, this can lead to the termination of RSPO membership. Next, we will discuss how to satisfy the remediation and compensation liability.